All right, Mr. Bittner, we're here to do your T-test appraisal pre-conference. So the first thing I want to talk about is a day and class period that of your preference that you would like me to come in and do your appraisal.
Probably today, fifth period, which starts at 1:29.
And what class is that?
That is world history.
Regular world history?
Regular world history.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what I can expect to see when I come to your class.
Okay, when you get there, there's going to be a warm up on the board for my kids that are on campus. There's going to be the same warm up on Canvas for my kids that are on Canvas. When they get to class, the first 5 minutes, they do the warm up. Today, it's going to be a reflection question on the Renaissance, how the Renaissance kind of brought Europe out of the Dark Ages and led to sweeping changes in the arts, in knowledge and learning and all that stuff, which is what we just finished. And while they're doing that, I'm going to be checking attendance and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let's just go through some of the standards that we want to see. How are the goals for learning aligned in this lesson with state standards for content?
When I start my lessons, I always align them with the TEKS.
Okay.
So today we're transitioning from Renaissance to Reformation, so there's going to be some Renaissance TEKS that are getting reviewed, and depending on the answers they have in their warm-up, perhaps retaught a little bit, and then we'll transition to the TEKS that are in the Reformation.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how you are handling the fact that you have both in-person students and online learners?
I'm trying to put, we're obviously doing a lot of hands-off stuff, and in the past I've done a lot of hands-off, a lot of group work stuff. I'm trying to put an emphasis on things that people can do, whether they're online, in my class, or asynchronous. So everything that we do, there is a component that's videoed, that's online, and you don't have to actually be in person to manipulate anything. So it's a lot of question, answer, response, discussion. So even if they can't join the discussion asynchronously, they can watch the discussion and take part like they were there.
Okay, as far as data and assessment is concerned, what are some techniques, whether they be formal or informal, do you use to collect evidence of students' knowledge and skills of your content?
I use my warm-up every day as an informal assessment tool. Like today, if the recall isn't where it should be on the Renaissance, then the lesson will probably be pushed back and we won't get all of the Reformation that I want, because I'll spend some time reinforcing some stuff from the Renaissance in the beginning. And then throughout the class period, really my most basic informal assessment is discussion, question and answer, group recall type stuff. And then at the end of the period, whatever the goal, the learning intention was for that day, there's some type of exit strategy, exit ticket, discussion question, quiz question at the end to make sure that they got and that's informal, I don't grade it.
What about for students that aren't very vocal in your class? How do you assess their knowledge?
So in the Canvas setting, there is, I use a bunch. Today I'm not going to use this, but we have a discussion function on Canvas. There's also a quiz function where I can actually put any type of question, multiple choice, true, false, essay, short answer, fill in the blank. And I use those as well as a discussion, a short question answer type discussion at the end. Or I'll just use a pop quiz.
Okay. So you're in a regular world history class, so you have a pretty diverse group of kids. What kind of, or how will the instructional strategies that you provide give kids the opportunity to fit their learning needs?
Well, I think that the fact that I do everything from, just online quiz, question answer, fill in the blank, assignment type stuff, as well as discussion, breakout room, peer review type things where I can go into breakout rooms and see kids talk, to actually being able to, their submission, they can write, they can record, they can answer. It's not easy, but I think that the way Canvas and Zoom affords you all different opportunities for kids to write, type, or whatever.
So I think what I'm hearing you saying is your kid, when I come into your classroom, I'm going to be able to see both varied types of instruction and varied types of checking for understanding.
Right.
Right. Okay. Tell me about why you feel like it's important for teachers to ask higher order questions during the lesson.
I think that not every lesson isn't a lesson where you need higher order lessons. Like today would not be one, because it's just an introduction of the Reformation. I think the higher order questions come at the end of a content, whether it be the Renaissance, the Reformation, exploration, whatever. I think they're important so that they understand the connections from what happened previously in history to what's happening now, the cause and effect, and the impact that previous things had on things that come later.
Okay, thank you. When you know students are going to struggle with what you're presenting because it's it is higher order expectations, or maybe the content is difficult to grasp, what are some things that you do to prepare for the fact that students might have a difficult time with that particular lesson?
Depending on what that lesson is, I try to group them strategically, and not necessarily always somebody that's got a better grasp or is a better higher level thinker with lower level thinker, but I try to group them also with kids that are more vocal and kids that are less vocal, kids that are comfortable with each other and kids that aren't, because what I've found is kids struggle until they're led, and not necessarily being led by me. Now I might lead it and point a direction or get a conversation back on track, but when kids hear other kids answering and participating and stuff like that, and they're following the discussion, they might not participate at the beginning, they might not be confident enough or understand enough at the beginning, but if they can follow the stuff that's going on and see their classmates participating, then later on they're more likely to grasp it.
Very good. As far as the content of this lesson that you're doing, what do you think the key concepts are of this lesson?
I think the key concept to the start of the Reformation is grasping the importance, not only that Martin Luther and his concerns with the Roman Catholic Church are, but the role that the Renaissance and thinking outside the box and developing learning and questioning things played, as well as the introduction of the printing press, which made mass distribution of ideas possible, which hadn't been possible in over 500 years.
How are you going to communicate the goals of the lesson with the kids?
Well, we have.
And when do you do that?
Well, we have a deal that's campus based that we put on the board and we put on Canvas, which are the learning intentions, and that's okay. Today, this is what I'm going to learn. So that would be something, and I don't have it on me, but that would be something like, I'm going to learn how the Renaissance led to the Reformation, which was a revolutionary change across Europe in the Christian church. And then aside from that, we have what the students are supposed to do so that we know that they get that, which is the actual discussions, the work, the product at the end of the period. So if they can follow those, then they're on track.
I think we've already talked about how you differentiate your instruction. Why do you feel like it's important to provide those multiple strategies to teach and assess?
Well, I think all kids learn different, and I don't think that that's a revolutionary thing, but I think especially with the way things are going now, kids, the way they're learning is completely changed. Their whole life is completely changed. So they're used to being in class, they're used to a certain setting, they're used to a certain dynamic, and that is different. So because of that, a kid that might have learned one way his whole life, when he's sitting on a computer watching Zoom with mom vacuuming in the background or little brother crying in the kitchen, you have to try different things to try to keep their attention and try to keep them engaged.
Okay. You've talked a lot about how you're going to check for understanding during the lesson, but can you tell me your thoughts on how student engagement impacts their performance?
I mean, I think it's huge. I think that's the number one indicator on success or not having success. Even kids that are engaged that perhaps aren't as successful at the beginning, aren't as quick to grasp concepts or ideas. The longer they're engaged and the more they're engaged and the more opportunities you give them to work with the content, by the end of the teaching cycle, their success is going to be much higher because they've been engaged so much longer and they've given themselves so much more of an opportunity.
I know you're a teacher who's always looking for ways to find better ways to do things. And so when we're talking about your classroom environment, your routine, your procedures that you're taking kids through every day, what are some things in your routine that you feel like you could refine, or the procedures that you're carrying out every day? What are we working on right now to get better at?
Well, right now, I mean, and I think this probably is across the board, every teacher in our school and across the district is better virtual learning strategies, and being able to make your virtual learning classroom more like what you've done your whole life in person.
Gotcha.
I think that's hard because we've all done a lot of different things with projects and group work and stuff like that. So it's trying to find that fine balance.
Okay, so as I'm coming in, I'm going to be evaluating what you're doing as a teacher in the lesson and the instruction that you're providing, but I'm also going to be evaluating your students' behavior during the class. Tell me some things that I'm going to see from you as far as the systems that you're going to have in place to monitor your student behavior while the lesson is happening.
Well, I think that right now, where we are in the school year, things are pretty well refined. If behavior is off, then it's a simple deal where I'll get quiet. Like, let's say people are talking, I'll get quiet. They know if I'm quiet and I'm not talking and I'm in front of the room, that means that it's time for them to be quiet. As far as kids getting off task, I'll simply get close to them. When you get close to them, they start to work. And if there's some type of disruption, whatever that might be, it's a simple thing where I call a student aside, separate from the class, and have a talk with them about our expectations, which are posted in our room, and usually that gets kids back on track.
Okay. For classroom culture, especially at a time like this where these kids aren't having a lot of interaction with their classmates outside of school, what are some opportunities that you give them in your classroom to collaborate and build a team culture within the classroom?
Well, we do some different stuff, whether it's at the beginning of class, just having a conversation about what's going on campus, or what's going on in the community, or what time of year it is, what their plans are, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for breaks, stuff like that. We also do different things within breakout rooms where I'll set a certain amount of time and I'll tell them, hey, when you've got the stuff done and we have time extra, y'all talk, and I'll jump in rooms, and if I see a group's done, I'll jump in a room and start a conversation. And I think the more the kids are comfortable talking with each other, whether it's about world history or not, then the more open they are to participate and to engage in what the lesson is. So there's different times throughout class that we do that, and then before and after class, just talking to kids and having kids talk to each other. That's huge, building relationships with a simple question once a day.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time. I look forward to coming in and visiting and looking at your class and evaluating you and working with you to make sure that our kids are given the best opportunities to learn and prepare for the upcoming test. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.